Alrighty, well, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final parent welcome call of the fall 26 cohort for Verdo Education. We're very excited that you've joined us here tonight, which is all about preparing you and showing you the resources, tools, and perspectives that you can start applying as you support your newly graduated high school graduate. So congrats on that milestone, and now prepare to support your new college student as they prepare, of course, for their first semester of college abroad with Verdo Education. My name is Mateo. I'm the community manager here at Verdo Education. If you haven't joined one of our events before, welcome. In addition to hosting student only events such as the Next Steps sessions call that students have had ongoing throughout the summer and the spring with their student onboarding advisor, these parent focused calls are provided so that you have access to the same information that we're sharing with students, and also that we give you family specific information so you can be prepared with the resources, tools, perspectives as you transition as well to supporting a high school student to now a college student who's studying abroad. The tips and the resources that we've gathered here tonight and that we'll share over the next hour come from our team after nearly half a decade at Verdo. I speak for I think everyone on the call here tonight that we've had. I've been at Verdo for 5 years. I think Steph has been for 6. So in addition to seeing many parents and students come and go through our community doors, we also compiled feedback and perspectives from parent alumni who have shared their experience. So we hope that you enjoy learning with us. And we encourage you to use the chat as well as we go through our presentation. And I just wanted to say once more, welcome to the Verdo community. We so cherish the relationships that we get to build with parents in pre-departure as we together support your student in their transition from high school to college, from sort of maybe limited independence in high school to full-blown independence as a college student. There's a lot that goes into this transition, and we know that we greatly benefit from your support and your mentorship of students, both in pre-departure and when they're on site. So thanks for being a learning partner with us, and we're excited that you're a part of our community as well. I want to give a special shout out to all of our channel partner participants. Of course, not all of our schools are on this slide because we have more than 40 partners. So we wanted to keep the slide bright and not have every logo be 2 pixels, but you're part of a network that you really should be proud to be a part of and that your students should be proud to be a part of. We partner with top schools around the country to provide a pathway to their schools. And we also partner with direct transfer schools. So if your student is a traditional student, meaning they're not channel, but rather they're joining Verdo and they're exploring their options post Verdo, we partner with amazing schools around the country and even around the world that offer a guaranteed admission to their school after Verdo, provided that your student meets their sort of admissions criteria. So we highly encourage you to check out the direct transfer partner page on our website if your student is a traditional student, and just get excited about the network that your student and you are a part of. So I'll let everyone introduce themselves when we get to their part. Since I'm kicking us off, I'll get us started. My name is Mateo. I'm the community manager. I've been at Verdo for 5 years. I've spent time at all of our sites, and I'm headed to Buenos Aires this fall. I'm very proud to be a part of this community. I was a study abroad student when I was in high school, and that changed my life. And I've gotten to see so many students have transformative experiences in our programs. So I'm very excited that your student gets to participate with us, and that we have the next sort of couple weeks, well, not couple, many weeks before your students arrive on site to get prepared and start thinking about how we transition our approach to support to one that most empowers your new college student. So what we're going to cover tonight is first, we're going to give you an overview of the Verdo experience now that you are your student is enrolled post-deposit. What's on the horizon for you and your student over the summer? We'll zoom in on the onboarding experience, including looking at our visa application process, which is well underway. We'll talk briefly about billing, although that deadline has passed, so there's not a whole lot to say about that. And we'll go over other important pre-departure logistics. Then we'll be joined by our academic affairs team, who will share a detailed overview of what the academic experience is like on site for your students, so you have an idea of what to expect. And lastly, we'll have time for some question and answer at the end in case we didn't get to any questions throughout the call. I'll also say that we have the Q&A turned on. So if you have questions, go ahead and add that to the Q&A feature. There's like a little bubble at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar that says Q&A. Ask your questions there. That way we can collect all of them in the same spot, and you can review the questions that have been answered already, because maybe a parent has already asked the same question that was on your mind. All right, so with all of that underway, I want to give one more extra plug for our parent handbook that we just launched. It's available on our enrolled family resources page. At the top, there's a banner that you can click on the parent handbook. We won't go over all of this tonight, and instead we'll spend sort of the pre-departure experience this summer looking at different chapters of the parent handbook. Tonight is all about the on-site experience and your onboarding experience. So we'll share details from the parent handbook related to those topics. And for more topics that we can explore together over the course of the summer, I encourage you to scroll to the bottom to see our upcoming events. So for example, we have a health and safety webinar in July with our Director of Health and Safety, Kate Berge. I highly recommend that you join that event so that we can continue to share information together. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit and take sort of stock of where your student is at in their experience timeline with Virto. So your student has already worked on step one, meaning they've already worked with a senior admissions counselor, and now they've transitioned out of working with their senior admissions counselor, and they've met a new person who is their mentor and their BFF for the summer. That is their student onboarding advisor, or SOA for short. This role, SOA, is all about helping your student navigate their pre-departure experience, including the required checklist items that students need to complete before they get on site. We'll go over each of those in more specific details later on our presentation, but you can see at a glance, you're looking at applying for a student visa if your student is going to Florence, Spain, or Prague. Looking like turning in their arrival flight information so our on-site team knows when to pick them up. Completing course selection, which closed last week. Paying tuition, applying for academic accommodations. There's more, but those ones are sort of like the big hits. And again, we'll go over more information about those checklist items. But really, this summer is all about also helping prepare them for navigating our resources that we provide to them and leaning into their independence. So we'll share a little bit more about what that could look like as you practice this sort of skill with your student. This is leading to their on-site experience. Point number 3 here. They have many mentors that they'll benefit from, including expert faculty on our site who are passionate about the topic that they teach, are thoughtful in how they incorporate experiential learning into their classroom. Your student will also then transition out of working with their student onboarding advisor and meet their student success advisor. This is their on-site in-person resource and their best advocate as they start navigating college and the resources that we provide to them. And so this is a great resource for your student. They also will benefit from the leadership and the guidance of our program directors and other on-site staff that work to make our study centers inclusive and interactive spaces where your student is learning both in and out of the classroom. And lastly, your student, after their experience, whether it's a year or a semester or even 3 semesters, if your student is so bold and your channel partnership allows for that, after those experiences, they'll be a member of our alumni network, which is now thousands of students strong at colleges across the country and even world. It is likely that there are students or there are alumni that are already on the campus that your student is aspiring to go to after Virto. So they can look forward to meeting Virtuoans wherever they go in the world. Now, what does this experience look like for you as the parent? Based off of feedback we've received from parent alumni, here's sort of more or less what you might be have already experienced and what you will be experiencing. So first, we want to say that it is normal for this experience to be a mixed bag, both one that is joyful as you're excited that your student gets to participate in this amazing experience, one that maybe they hadn't anticipated embarking on as they were applying for colleges. And that also might mean some nervousness as you consider, is this the right sort of path for my student? Are they going to fare well abroad? The answer is yes to both of those questions. But this summer is all about getting prepared and you getting confident, both in your student and also the resources that we provide, so that we can work together to support your student. And this is a really important part of the pre-departure process, is to start practicing these shifts from manager to mentor, where maybe in high school you were doing a lot of things for your student, or maybe it's your first instinct to complete all the checklist items for your student instead of asking them to do them, or expecting them to do them and coming to you with questions. But this is really where students start to build these skills that will be relevant in college, even more so than high school, where students will be managing their time independently. They'll be expected to navigate resources that are provided to them. So we really encourage you to take advantage of this pre-departure experience over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and encourage them to take ownership of their tasks, including filling in the checklist items, scheduling appointments if they need to, sort of going to you with questions, but really taking charge of that experience, which will set them up for success when they're on site. Step number 3. This is where we provide a lot of on-site resources for students, including advisors, counseling, tutoring, student clubs. But of course, those resources are only good if students use them. So we like to use the pre-departure experience to give students practice in using the resources that we provide. Of course, when students are on site, it's important to normalize challenges. This will be a new experience for everyone. And so no one completes their Verdo experience without experiencing some sort of challenge. And that's built into our experience. That's a part of it, is that you learn through those challenges. We'll talk a little bit about how you get through the stretch zone into the discovery zone in a bit. But something that you should know early on is that when students get on site, they'll communicate directly with on-site staff. So in pre-departure, it is, you may have gotten into the habit of reaching out on behalf of your student to their student onboarding advisor. That changes when students get on site, and when they become officially college students. On-site teams, for example, they don't communicate with parents. Instead, communication is routed through the Dean of Students office. But something to keep in mind is also using pre-departure as a way to shift from manager to mentor in communication, so that your student gets in the habit of advocating for themselves and sort of working with our team in appropriate ways. And lastly, get ready to be a parent alum as well. We have thousands of parents who have proudly watched their students transform and become full-blown college students and world travelers, and students interested in their academics. So get excited for that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at the onboarding experience first. So as I mentioned, the shift from from manager to mentor really fits into our discovery model. This is our framework for how we expect and hope that students will navigate our programs by the end of the semester. And it starts with acknowledging that most students will begin this experience in their stretch zone. They're leaving their comfort zone, so the security and the safety of their hometown, their group of friends, your support, and they're moving into a stretch zone where things will become challenging. They won't understand everything. Not everything will come easy to them. It's important, though, to consider that the stretch zone is necessary to get into the learning zone and the discovery zone. We aspire to have every student in the discovery zone by the end of the semester, because this is where students thrive. This is where they can find meaning and purpose in their life and in their academics. It's where they can realize their goals and aspirations. They know more about who they are, and they can be thankful for the experiences they have. But they don't get there until they get through the learning zone as well, where they can start to build their self-confidence. They can problem solve, they can face challenges head on, and they can gain new skills. So we encourage you to use pre-departure. If it feels like your student is in the stretch zone, even in pre-departure, this is the perfect time to be encouraging them to stay in the stretch zone so that they can gradually move into the learning and ultimately the discovery zone. The more students have practice with this in pre-departure, the more experience they're going to have, the better the experience they're going to have on site, because they'll already be prepared to take advantage of the resources that we have and the experience that we're offering. So what this role looks like for you as a parent is to become a learning partner. And I like this little graphic on the right-hand side. If you can think of yourself as in the back on the back seat of this tandem bicycle, and your student is in the front seat. So now they're pedaling and they're steering where they're going, but you're in the back and you're providing energy. And especially going up those hills, you're helping your student by empowering them, and of course trusting that they, as the person who's holding the steering wheel, they know where they're going. And so the reason why we ask parents to become learning partners is because it helps students gain the confidence and skills to navigate the real world situations that they'll be in when they're on site. And it also helps them learn to utilize resources available to them, which is typical and necessary for a college student to know how to do. And lastly, this is all hopefully preparing them for their channel school experience. So when they get to their college campus, many of the campuses that you all mentioned above, whether it be UC Boulder or LMU or Vanderbilt, they will already have experience knowing how to navigate college systems and college resources. And they will fully thrive once they get on to their next college campus. So thank you for practicing this maybe new framework with your student. And I look forward to hearing how it goes over the summer. So an example of this, what this looks like in practice, for example, is, we just mentioned that your student must complete a variety of checklist items during pre-departure. These are necessary for us to have the proper logistics to prepare for them. The easiest thing that you could do for your student, but the one that they will learn the least in, is if you complete all these checklist items on their behalf, or if you log into the student portal and you're doing these things for them. Does it technically fill the checklist item? Yes. Does your student learn anything in the process? Not so much. And so when they get on site and they're expected to navigate resources and you're not there, that might put them in the panic zone more than they need to be. So instead, the opposite end of this is on the discovery zone side, is maybe your student sets aside time every Sunday or Saturday to go through their checklist items and see any that are pending or that are about to turn red. They're navigating the system independently. They're tracking their time. They're letting you know if they have any questions, but otherwise they're checking in and they're letting you know that all of your checklist items, that their checklist items are ready. So you can see how these experiences are different. And we hope that you can use the pre-departure to practice some of these skills that will be helpful for your student. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it to Rob, our manager of student onboarding, to share more about the onboarding experience. And I'm going to get to looking at questions that are coming in the Q&A. So I'll see some of you there, and Rob, I'll turn it to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Castillo. I am the Associate Director for Student Onboarding. Some of you might recognize me from the checklist emails or some other communications you're all getting, but we'll talk a little bit about the onboarding team and how we're supporting you and your student throughout this process. Let's go to the next slide, Mateo. All right, thank you. So your student probably already connected with their onboarding advisor, and you might have already connected as well. First step is the next step sessions, where we walk you through some of those next steps that we're looking forward to. Fun fact, the team, like Mateo says, will become your student's best friend at this point, and we'll be communicating, if they haven't already, a lot about the different tasks and checklist items that we've been talking about. Most of these onboarding advisors actually work on site, so your student will get to connect with them if they're going to one of these locations where they're at. And at the same time, I do say this because it's important to note, because they are in Europe or they are in Europe, the time difference might be a factor. So if you're reaching out to them, let's say around this time, they probably won't see the communication until tomorrow, but they will get back to you. All right, and next slide. Let's look a little bit at the pre-departure timeline and where we're at and how we're going to be able to support you. So there are a lot of different things that have been going on in the previous months. And if you've just enrolled and you're getting into speed of things, do not worry. We're going to connect with you and help you get through everything very quickly. Essentially, June is a very big month for us. There's several key deadlines and things we definitely need to work with you and your student on, mainly passports or visas if it is a visa location, and updating us on any pre-departure document or checklist items that we need. Tuition is also in June, so if you haven't connected with Student Financial Services, that's something very important to do. You can connect with your student or reach out directly to Student Financial Services. And then your students, I saw a lot of them graduating or have graduated already. We're going to start requesting official high school transcripts, and those are going to go to our registrar. So we're going to start wrapping up everything essentially. So that way, come July, we're working on completing any last minute pre-departure items. We're starting on our pre-departure courses. and pre-departure orientations, basically getting everything ready for what comes in August, which is that lovely experience of traveling and starting your semester abroad. And to help with this, Mateo showed us a little bit about the family resources. We also want to highlight the enrolled participants page. I would definitely recommend bookmarking this. It has a lot of information that you're going to want to know. You probably already have some questions. I saw some really nice questions in the chat already. Most of this lives in the enrolled participants page or the location resources. If you go through the location the enrolled participants page, you're going to see things from how do I apply or renew a passport for those students that haven't gone on that yet. You can definitely get some information there. How to book your flight. I saw some questions about booking flights. You can find our location arrival window with the airport you're supposed to arrive at and the arrival windows you're supposed to aim for. So that way our teams can greet your students there at the airport. You'll also find useful information on deadlines. So like I said, we had some key important deadlines for both academics. We had key important deadlines for tuition and passports and visas. You'll find all of that in the enrolled participants page. And if you scroll all the way down, Mateo, there's also a section here that I like to highlight when you're having issues logging in or you don't know where to go to log into Verto Connect, which we'll see in just a second, or your student doesn't know where to go to connect to Canvas or MyCharger. Here are all the logins. So they can go to this page and then from there, it'll redirect them to where they want to go. And Mateo, if we can go to the location resources, I just want to highlight a couple things there. This is also going to be very important. I know a lot of questions come up, especially around what does the academic calendar or holidays on site look like? That's going to live here in the general section. So if you want to take a look at the academic calendar, it's already posted. You'll be able to see. Friendly reminder, we do not have our traditional holidays, so Thanksgiving is not going to be celebrated, but they will have their on-site holidays. So if they have their holidays, they'll be listed there. And then I also want to highlight when you go to the specific location your student's going to be going to. So let's say we're going to London, you'll be able to find a lot of different useful information and links that can help you. I saw a question about mailing things to your student. There's a section where how would I mail a package to them or how could I get something to them while they're abroad? If you're thinking about packing, what can we pack or what does my student need to pack? There's a packing list there that we recommend. There's also very useful guides on how to visit your student if you're planning on visiting us throughout the semester, housing, the study center. There's a lot of information that you might want to go through. All right. And then we talked about this already. This is something very important. Oh, you can go to the next one. Yeah. I was going to go into Verto Connect, Mateo. Yeah, we talked about Verto Connect. This is essentially the main platform our students are using to complete their checklist items. So your students might have already connected to Verto Connect, or if they haven't, I would highly ask you all to encourage your student to maybe after this call, if you get to see them for dinner, have them connect to or log into Verto Connect and start reviewing their checklist items just to see where they're at. As a parent, you also have a new parent view access where you can see basically a general overview of what your student has been doing. But again, if there is any issue, please connect with your onboarding advisor so we can help with that. Verto Connect is where you'll also be able to find academic information, billing and payments, as well as, like I mentioned, the checklist items that your students are already working on. Yeah, and then next slide. All right, and this is the most important thing right now. We can't study abroad without a passport, but we still have time for certain locations if you haven't already gotten a passport or haven't renewed it, because we do need a valid passport past a specific date for specific locations. Prague and Seville, unfortunately, the deadline has passed. So if you do not have a passport, please connect with us. We might be able to switch locations or work with you on what possible solutions we have. Florence, even though the deadline was June 1st, we still have time if you expedite or go to a passport agency and try to get that same day. Buenos Aires and London, you have a little bit of time, but we highly encourage getting on that immediately. Just a reminder, your passport must be valid for Spain at least a year after the program start date. So August 24, 2027. For other locations, it's June 5th, 2027. And for the locations, for the locations we mentioned going to Seville, Florence, or Prague, you will need a visa. A visa is essentially the permit that allows students to stay a little bit longer than the traditional 90 days they would get as a tourist. It's a sticker that's going to go on their passport. I saw some comments about Prague already. Yes, it is a process, but we're here to support and help you throughout this. And yes, once you get through it, trust me, it's a great feeling getting through your checklist items and submitting that visa application. The timeline to apply, typically 3 to 6 months prior to departure. So we're right in the middle of it. And typically processing time is 2 to 12 weeks, depending on the location, depending on the consulate. Visa application fees can run anywhere between $50 to $170. And note, if you are a student going to Spain or Italy, you have to be 18 to apply. So I know some students that we've been able to make exceptions for that are going to be turning 18 soon. We're working with you all to get appointments or make sure you're applying once you're 18. Very important as well, if you do have, or if you're planning maybe some international travel with your student and it's coming up, please notify your onboarding advisor as soon as possible. We all know that you do need to submit your passport for that visa, but you also need your passport to travel if you're going to be traveling internationally. So connect with us. There might be, depending on the timeline, you might not need to submit for a secondary passport, or you might have to. And if you do have questions on how to do that, we're here to help and advise. This is very common practice, and students that are currently in a visa process application and don't have their passport, we'll work with you to make sure you understand how to go about getting that secondary passport. All right, and then just to highlight a little bit about what we talked about, right now we're in the middle of things. So if you are going to Spain and Prague or Italy, we do need to work quickly on applying. Spain and Prague more specifically, as you do need to apply right now in June. Italy, we do have some more time, but we definitely don't want to put this off. So connecting with your onboarding advisor as soon as possible will be key so we can support and advise on next steps. All right, I'll pass it over to Steph. Oh, sorry, I forgot the action item. Sorry. If you're missing some key action items, if your student hasn't connected with your onboarding advisor, let's please encourage them to do so as soon as possible, especially if you've just enrolled or enrolled recently. That would be very, very important. And if they haven't uploaded key action items to their Verto Connect portal, let's make sure they're doing that. More importantly, the passport and then some other checklist items that we've already requested. And since we've already seen a lot of you have already or have graduated students, let's try to get their official transcripts to us as soon as possible. All right, Steph.
Hey everyone, I'm Steph, Director of Student Financial Services and Onboarding at Verto. And I'm going to talk to you this evening about financial planning for your students' Verto semester. So students and parents alike can log into Verto Connect. We'll drop that link in the chat. You'll use the email that you receive any Verto communications on. When logging on into Verto Connect, you can navigate to the billing section in Verto Connect. You'll also see a number of other resources, but the only thing that you can action on is the billing itself. Once you're in the billing section, please go to your Fall 26 invoice and you'll see the fees due for the Fall 26 semester. You'll be able to see there any transactions that have posted, any scholarships that the student has received. If your general deadline is June 1st, this is for all students that are enrolled prior to May 15th. If you missed this deadline for any reason or have asked for an extension or enrolled after May 15th, which is very possible since you're joining us at our final event tonight for the family welcome calls, you have probably been receiving emails that your final extension deadline is June 24th, which is coming up in 1 week from today. So please, please, please ensure that you have payment on file, and I'll talk about what those methods can look like in just a moment, by June 24th. That is the only way that we can guarantee we are able to continue holding your student's place in the semester. We do need to confirm our housing. We do need to confirm our course selection, our enrollments. We do need to confirm the scheduling and all those different excursions, etc. So very, very critical that this deadline is adhered to and that you're communicating with us if you need anything different. On the right-hand side, I'll talk a little bit about the different payment methods that you can use while at Verto. You can, of course, pay in full, good old-fashioned, sending a check in the mail. We accept checks. You can use ACH, credit card, debit card, online via Verto Connect. You can sign up for a 5-month payment plan. This takes your total in Verto tuition due for the fall semester only and divides it into 5 equal amounts due the first of every month of June through October. If you are joining us for the full year, the payment plan option is, of course, available again for the spring semester, and that timeline is November through March. So each semester is paid separately. You can use 529 college savings or educational savings accounts. You can use private educational loans, employer tuition reimbursement or remission if your employer offers that option, and of course, any external scholarships that your student might have from their local community. So please connect with Student Financial Services, financialservices@vertoeducation.org. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer questions via email. We have the email inbox staffed nearly 24/7. Additionally, you can set up a time to chat with us one-on-one. We know that sharing your personal financial information in a group office hour setting is not that's not the most comfortable for anyone, but we do offer one-on-one meeting times. So please schedule a time if you would like, whether it's a phone conversation or Zoom conversation. That is the best way to ensure that we are able to answer any questions you have, and sort of not missing each other, understand who we're speaking to, etc. I think that is all. Very finally, actually, one other link I will drop in the chat. We do have, and you'll see this when you log into Verto Connect, but in case you don't log into Verto Connect or don't want to share this with anyone else, you have your billing and financial services FAQs there. All the same questions that are answered in Verto Connect, but so that you can pull it up right here from this link. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to turn to the academic experience, and I'll invite our academic affairs team to share more.
Hello, everybody. My name is Israel Bettis, and I'm Verto's Curriculum and Transfer Specialist. And my section is to talk about the study part of the study abroad experience. So first, I do want to say that it is important to understand how your student is categorized while participating in a Verto experience. All students are enrolled as full-time students with our academic provider, the University of New Haven. New Haven is responsible for providing academic oversight to our programs, and they are responsible for issuing final official transcripts for all students. Upon completion of their semester, most students are going to be categorized as second semester freshmen or first semester sophomores. This standing often depends on how much credit they've already earned through AP, IB, or dual enrollment, and whether or not those credits are accepted by their post-Verto partner school. So we do always recommend that you check with them to see how your credits are going to be transferring. Now, most students can participate in Verto for up to 3 semesters, but cannot take more than 30 credit hours in any one location. This means that they can stay in one location for up to 2 semesters, but then they must transfer to another if they would like to stay for a third. Channel students should also refer to the terms of their offer to see how many semesters they are allowed and or required to take with Verto. Now, regardless of the location, there is a firm academic bar. Students must maintain a cumulative 2.0 GPA, which is going to be a C average, to continue with Verto from semester to semester. This is especially critical for our year-long students. If their GPA does fall below a 2.0 after their first term, they can be dismissed from the program. In a second, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about continuing eligibility. Next slide, please, Mateo. So as Mateo was talking about at the beginning of the presentation, this experience will find you and your students shifting roles as they transition between high school and college. We want to highlight what becoming a learning partner looks like from an academic perspective and how you can expect to guide your student instead of doing things for them. Now, in high school, you likely provided a lot of direct support. You probably woke them up, maybe made them some breakfast or helped them to organize their schedule. So a Verto experience is designed to help your student take ownership of their college career, becoming an independent global learner. Even if you could still pull off their blankets and wake them up, I can promise you that their new roommate is probably not going to like that. So your role is going to shift to being their primary emotional and financial champion as they navigate this new journey. Many of your students will be 18 legal adults, and as college students, they gain additional rights to their data through the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. In a second, I'll go ahead and share more on that. So in addition to their changing relationship with you, their relationship will also change in relation to schoolwork too. Gone are the days of simple assignments and frequent teacher check-ins. Now their work is going to be a lot more complex, and they're going to have to navigate how to be successful on their own. The deadlines are going to be firm, and retakes are typically going to only be granted under any exceptional circumstances. Next slide, please, Mateo. So in college, your student does gain new rights to their academic information through a federal law called FERPA. This is a crucial part of becoming an adult student. It means their records are private, and they are the person who communicates directly with our team about grades, schedules, and progress. FERPA shifts your access to information, so if you're used to systems like PowerSchool or Canvas, where you get routine updates on missing assignments or attendance, please know that this is no longer allowed. If your student chooses to grant you access to certain records, they must complete a specific FERPA waiver. We strongly encourage you to discuss this with your students. Even then, if they choose to waive their FERPA rights, we won't add parents to the Canvas courses or send you notifications about late work. Aside from any extraordinary emergencies or legal obligations, we cannot share information without their consent. Next slide, please, Mateo. So one of the things that I'd like to emphasize is that we are Verto Education, not Verto Travel LLC. Now, one of the coolest aspects about Verto is that our experience, it does happen abroad, but it also happens while you're studying abroad. So I want to take some time to talk about how academics are incorporated into your students' daily life. Next slide, please, Mateo. So here you can see a graphic of what a typical day might look like for a student. You can see that there's classwork, labs to attend, and faculty office hours. If you scan the QR code here, you can also hear one of our previous students narrate her day in London. On a weekly basis, classes are held from Monday through Fridays, starting at about 8:30 a.m. and ending no later than 8 p.m. Classes held on Fridays tend to be lab or studio sessions and other highly experiential classes that benefit from longer time blocks to get you out of the classroom and into the city. When creating student schedules, we do strive to build schedules that are balanced and consider the holistic aspects of a student's day. Next slide, please, Mateo. Now, I'd like to share some information about how we identify our world-class faculty. All faculty must have at least a master's degree and 1 year of teaching experience in their discipline. While this is the minimum requirement, we do try to ensure that at least 25% of our faculty have a doctorate. And in fall 2025, 46% of our faculty have PhDs. Each faculty member is reviewed and approved by our academic provider, the University of New Haven. One of the best things about our faculty is that instructors are often citizens of the country where they're teaching in, so they often provide you with a unique perspective that is often different from what you would expect in the US. We do survey our students at midterms and finals about their classroom experience. And in fall 2025, our faculty collectively earned a 4.38 out of a 5 on a variety of questions, ranging from whether or not students feel like they're being challenged to think critically to whether or not the faculty member is providing timely feedback on assignments. We're focused not only on retaining quality faculty, but also faculty who are able to support our specific model of academic rigor and success. Next slide, please, Mateo. So one question we do often hear is your student going to be prepared to continue their college career at another university after their Verto experience? And I can tell you that the answer is a resounding yes. Though that academic rigor might not necessarily show in ways that you or your students typically expect. For many, the mark of a rigorous experience is students fending for themselves in a big stuffy lecture hall where their grades are based on 2 huge papers and may be evaluated by an overworked TA, and maybe they're being lectured at by a professor who doesn't really care too much about the students. Students' academic success is not always linked to their continued effort, and they can be just as successful cramming as they are remaining consistently engaged. In this conventional rigor environment, feedback is often summative and terminal, which means that it's too late for students to incorporate and make significant changes. It is often fear-based, stressful, and linked to difficulty rather than mastery, and that could not be farther from the Verto experience. First, we do work with our faculty to ensure that they are incorporating the right mix of low and high stakes assessments that ensure students get frequent feedback, while also having the opportunity to perform at a high level. By comparison to high school, there may be more work, but the goal is not just to have more volume, but it's also going to be to have more complexity and more connection. One example that I like to give is that in our stats classes, in Florence, you might be discussing frequency and distribution, then build your data set by sitting in the front of the study center and counting the number of Vespas that are passing by, and then taking your data and working through it with different statistical methods. Next slide, please, Mateo. So our classes are designed with the student success in mind. While participating in one of our experiences, students spend class time interacting with one another in small class sizes limited to no more than 25 students. Often these numbers are actually much lower, and classes average 14 to 16 students in fall 2025. In such intimate and active spaces, this isn't a program where your student can hide in the back of the classroom. Instead, they'll be rewarded for sustained daily engagement and incremental progress, especially since they require feedback to distribute grades so that students earn at least 25% of their grade, in each quarter of the semester. This ensures that adequate formative feedback, meaning that students get feedback while they are working so they can make adjustments and improve. Our goal is to cultivate talent and build resilience through mastery, and then to help connect students to resources like office hours and tutoring when they don't quite make the mark. If you would like more information on different strategies that inform our approach, I do encourage you to review our accessible and inclusive learning policy on the Verto policy page. Next slide, please, Mateo. So now I do want to highlight some resources on our website that can be helpful to better understand our programs and that we recommend you discuss with your students prior to departure. So the first one is going to be the academic calendar, which is an essential document and available under the location resources pages on our website. Each one is localized to their program location and details important academics-related dates like add drop, midterm, and final exams, as well as any holidays. So as Rob had mentioned, it is important to note that Verto does not recognize US holidays. So a crucial piece of advice, please do not book any travel without consulting the local academic calendar. You can discuss these dates with your student's onboarding advisor and finally confirm with your student after they're on site. The academic calendar is for the program overall and won't be inclusive of your student's specific deadlines. Those are going to always be in the syllabi. And unfortunately, you cannot give the excuse that your mom is visiting. Next slide, please, Mateo. So the attendance policy is also one of the most critical to understand as it ties into the study part in study abroad. Full and active participation is key to success. First, it's a legal requirement. Students must maintain enrollment in 12 credit hours for visa and immigration requirements to remain on site. Academically, Verto prioritizes education. When students show up to class and participate, they leverage the opportunity to start college differently in a collaborative environment. Please remember this rule of thumb. 1 hour of class generally equates to about 2 hours of homework. Missing too much class can lead to falling behind, and grade penalties might be applied. Finally, attendance is a chance to live the Verto values. Showing up on time, prepared, demonstrates respect for faculty, staff, and peers, and helps your student build community. We understand challenges do happen, so of course we always urge students to reach out for help if they need it and apply for academic accommodations before any issues arise. Next slide, please, Mateo. So I did mention at the beginning of the presentation that students who plan to continue with Verto for a second or third semester must maintain their academic eligibility. This requires a 2.0 minimum GPA along with good behavioral and financial standing. If a student earns below a 2.0, specifically a GPA of between a 1.5 and 1.99, they may be allowed to enroll in Verto's academic recovery program. This program is limited to specific sites, so students who want to take advantage of this option may need to change their location. Participants in these programs are limited to enrolling in 13 or 14 credits and may be required to repeat courses for grade replacement. Any student who earns a 1.49 and below is not eligible to continue with Verto, period. I want to underscore that these are cutoffs to continue in Verto experiences. Your student's partner school may have a higher GPA requirement, and they may not be able to take advantage of their guaranteed pathway if their GPA is below their channel partner's requirements. So it is essential for students to review the specific terms of their university's offer to ensure they remain on track for seamless transfer. We will communicate academic standing directly to students. They will receive on or off-track letters after midterm grades, and they're going to be available. They're going to receive on/off-track letters after midterm grades are available, and then eligibility later after final grades are posted. We also send a reminder letter to parents after midterm grades, encouraging you to check in with your students. Remember, due to FERPA, this is only a reminder to check in with your students. We will not send you your student status directly in our midterm communication. All policies are available on Verto's website under the Enrolled Participants submenu. Next slide, please, Mateo. Now that you know what to expect from the classroom experience, let's talk about what course supplies students may need to be successful. Verto will provide access to academic systems like our learning management software, Canvas, our e-textbook provider, Cengage, and students will also receive access to UNU Haven's student portal, MyCharger, where they can access their grades and library resources. I do want to also add that your program fees are also going to cover the costs of all the lab materials, arts materials, including any cameras for the photography class, and costs related to experiential learning, excursions, and activities. When making decisions about what to pack, we often say that there are pens in Buenos Aires and paper in Seville, but you probably can't pick up your childhood teddy bear from the local market. Well, all students will need a laptop with a charger or adapter, or a tablet with an external keyboard and some starter supplies like a notebook and some pens. Students should not feel pressured to pack a bag full of stationery. Instead, just prioritize things that will make your student feel confident and prepared, like your favorite calculator, but otherwise, much of the supplies can be secured after they arrive on site. Students can check their location-specific packing list for more details. Next slide, please, Mateo. So here, I do want to mention that course selection has already closed. We did have the deadline of June 12th. However, I know at this point in time, a lot of students are still waiting on some prior learning credits, such as advanced placement credit. And I do want to let you know that if you need to submit those, you still have the opportunity to do so. And if your course selection gets changed due to any of those credits, we can go ahead and reopen your course selection window. But otherwise, the course selection deadline has already passed. So go ahead and pass it back to you, Mateo.
All right, so a little bit about post-Verdo planning, which I know seems very far away and yet will be right around the corner. But resources your student can access to stay on track for their post-Verdo plans. If your student is a channel student, meaning they've been invited to participate in Verdo through an invitational pathway, they have resources already available to them that they can review, including the frequently asked questions document that details, as the name would imply, commonly asked questions. These questions are fielded by the channel school representative. So I highly encourage your student to bookmark this page and check it out if they have questions about how they can secure housing, if housing is available, or what course registration looks like for their post-Verdo institution. We also are hosting our Campus Connect events that you may have heard about. In both the student and the parent portal, if you log in and you click virtual events, you will see the events, the dates that your student's channel school is hosting a Campus Connect event. If the events have already passed, we will upload the slide decks of those events to that same place in Verdo Connect. So just keep in mind, those resources will be available to your student throughout the summer and even in their on-site experience. And please encourage your student to be checking their email constantly. This should be a daily habit for college students to make sure that they're not missing any important information that's coming through either from Verdo or from their channel institution. If your student is a traditional student, meaning that they've joined Verdo independently and they're weighing their options after Verdo, they're in a great spot as well. We encourage your student to check out our direct transfer webpage. This is a list of schools that have a formal partnership with Verdo that guarantee admission to their institutions, provided your student meets their sort of direct transfer requirements, which are detailed on the website. Your student can apply for up to 5 of these colleges with the free application that Verdo provides. And our on-site tech team works with your student to complete those applications. So there's no action needed over the summer, although your student, if they're curious, they're welcome to check out our direct transfer page and start putting some schools on their dream board and considering which schools they'd like to apply to, so that when they get on site, they already know where they'd like to apply. But again, those applications will occur once your student is on site. Now we're going to do a round robin of frequently asked questions. And I think we've answered some of these in the chat already, but it's great for us to review them one more time. So first, a hot topic around this time is purchasing flights. This is a great time for your student, for you to purchase flights for your student, because the summer travel will kick up, and so will flight prices. So as Rob mentioned, you should refer to the arrival window page on the enrolled participants page to know when your student should be arriving and what airport they should be arriving in. This is especially important for large cities like London that have multiple airports. So you'll see here, students for London should arrive to Heathrow between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And this is so our team can coordinate for pickup. I will say for Florence-bound students, you probably know this already by your visa application, but you'll need proof of your round trip flights even before July 1st, because you need that for your visa application. For all other sites, we encourage students and parents to purchase round trip flights so that you have proof of onward travel once your student is at the border for the country. And beginning July 1st or around that time, the checklist item will open up for your student to upload their arrival flight so that we know when to expect them. You can have your student reach out to their SOA for any questions about booking flights. Otherwise, many students I've heard have already purchased their flights, so we encourage you to continue working on that. Another great checklist item to work on around this time is academic accommodations. So something to keep in mind is if your student had an IEP or academic accommodations in high school, those don't roll over from high school to college. Your student needs to apply again through the University of New Haven to receive academic accommodations. And the great news is that there's a step-by-step process on the U New Haven website. There's also a checklist in the Verdo checklist for students that walks students step by step through this process. There's even like a video, and there's a pretty interactive checklist item. This process takes several weeks, so we encourage your student to not delay applying for academic accommodations if they think they'll benefit from them. Especially don't delay and don't wait for your student to get on site and then apply, because as I mentioned, the process takes several weeks. So they'll start the experience not having all the tools in their tool belt, which we don't want for anyone. So please make sure that they're applying for academic accommodations this summer. We encourage by July 31st, students should have already submitted their academic accommodations request. If you have questions about this specific topic, you can reach out to our team at deanofstudents@verdoeducation.org. Instead of calling the U New Haven, we're happy to field those questions for you. Thank you for supporting your student in getting in their academic accommodations applications. Okay. Another common question that families have is, should I visit and should I not? Should I not visit? And really that depends on your student and what they would most benefit from. So we had a parent alumni panel in April, and some families said, I'm so glad I went with my student because it helped me and my student feel comfortable. For other parents, they said, I'm so glad I did not go because this allowed my student to have an independent experience at the beginning and really start college on their own and learn from that experience. So there's no pressure to visit. It's not every family is going to visit, and that is totally fine. And it's, don't feel a pressure to visit if it's not in the cards for you. If it is in the cards for you, keep in mind academic holidays, academic calendar and local holidays, rather. As we mentioned a couple times in the academic calendar, we follow regional holidays, not US holidays. So your student won't have Thanksgiving off, for example. We don't give excused absences in general, but especially, family visits don't constitute an excused absence. So some things to keep in mind. Additionally, if your student is attending Prague Spring 27 or considering attending, keep in mind that students need to depart on December 5th. That is because Prague Spring 27 is a 90-day program, and students will need all 90 days of their Schengen visa, the tourist visa, in order to participate. So if we're planning on staying a few days or weeks after and your student is going to Prague, I highly encourage you to reconsider that and reach out to your student onboarding advisor if you have any more questions or if you want to review your schedule, your tentative schedule. I also want to mention many families have expressed interest in our parent day, so thank you for that. It is true that some sites have filled up. So we've been promoting Parent Day since March. So we've had several months of sharing that in the weekly checklist email. And if families do want to attend, I encourage you to join the wait list. After June 25th, we should know more if there's any more cancellations for more spots to open up if parents cancel their participation in Parent Day. And I want to say, if you don't have a spot in Parent Day, don't worry also, because, for example, Team Florence is happy to meet you on arrival day. Your student must go to the study center at any rate. So we'd be happy to say hello to you on on arrival day in Florence. For all the other sites, we do have ticket options available. So I encourage you to check those out. It's in the weekly checklist email. And Yeah, I will drop that in the chat after I get through our frequently asked questions here. Lastly, this one's a fun one for students. Our roommate request checklist item is due on June 25th. It's part of their housing preference form. So they have until this date, which is about a week from now, to submit a request. It's important to keep in mind that the request must be mutual, meaning if I request Rob, Rob has to request me for our on-site team to honor that request. If I request Rob and he doesn't request me, we're not going to make a match there. So just keep that in mind. Encourage your student to be making those mutual matches. They can meet their peers on Verto Connect. There's a community tab where they have access to a location group and a channel group. They can start making, many students have already started making friends that way, which we really encourage. And we love to see that students are taking ownership of their social experience. So encourage them to log in the Verto Connect in the community tab. And if they haven't posted their intro, post it there so other people can get to know them.
Mateo, can I interrupt there for 1 second
Yes.
quickly? Back to the housing, a little bit more about housing while talking about roommate requests, which is great. The other side of the spectrum is that perhaps your student is a student who's really nervous about living with somebody or either health-wise or mental health-wise. That is not a good fit for them. And you know that, your student knows that. What can you do? Well, we have premium housing, which premium is synopsis for single bedroom housing in most of our locations. So all of our locations but Argentina have the option for students to, for an additional fee, sign up to have a single bedroom. So if your student is if you and your student know that's not a good fit for you, unique to, a freshman year experience, where typically on a first year experience on a university, you have to have a roommate. We do offer that option for students. So please work with your student, talk with them, and on their housing roommate preferences, they can preference premium housing as their first preference. It is a $1,000 deposit to reserve a single room for your student. And you'll have more information all on Verto Connect on the housing and roommate preferences form. Same deadline, June 25th, so one more week. And there are still spots available in all 4 locations: London, Italy, Spain, and Prague. So again, that's an option that we offer students because we know this is a big transition. Going to college, living abroad, some students just need a little bit more space, and that's okay. We have that option for them, but we don't want you to miss out on that. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is our last FAQ. The summer is a great time and an important time for your student also to obtain any medication that they'll need for the duration of the semester. And we highly encourage your student to arrive on site with all the medication they need instead of coming with a week or month dose, because it may be difficult or in some cases impossible to find the exact medication that they use. So to avoid any situations like that, we highly encourage your student to visit their care provider, and sometimes this looks like a travel clinic in the hospital, and to get a full prescription so that they can arrive with the full dosage for their semester. Also, we'll go over this much more in detail in our July 9th family webinar, which I encourage you all to join with our Director of Health and Safety. But all students are automatically insured by CISI, which is a industry standard for international student sort of experiences. So they are automatically enrolled in that traveler's insurance. Some parents ask, should I cancel my student's domestic insurance? That's up to you. If it gives you peace of mind that they have that, that's great. Keep in mind that CISI wouldn't cover any sort of incidents domestically. So if your student returns home early or things like that, sometimes it's good to have that insurance. But I would say for the duration of your student's experience abroad, CISI is a great industry standard insurance. And we'll go over that much more in detail in our health and safety webinar. Okay, and lastly, a fun one. As I mentioned, have your student be investing in their social experience as well. So they have a community tab where they can see all of the students that are going to their same location and all students that are going to their same channel school after Verto from every location. Students have already started making connections. So if your student hasn't done this, they're not behind, but they should get on it so that they can start building their Verto community, which is a really important part of transitioning to college, is feeling secure in the social part of it as well. So encourage them to log in to our Verto Connects community tab and start posting their intros and meeting people. And lastly, we have much more information to share with your students over the course of the summer. So we have a required pre-departure series, which consists of an onboarding course, that launches July 15th, and then a series of live events that students will attend. They'll attend one session of each of the events, the global, location, housing, and care team circle orientation events. And these are so that your student arrives on site for Discovery Week with all the information that they need to thrive that first week and the rest of the semester. These are required because we want all students to have access to the same information before Discovery Week starts. And those dates are already live. So I'll drop that in the chat of where your student can RSVP. And there's also parent pre-departure orientation. So while parents don't attend the global or location or housing orientations, you're more than welcome to attend the parent pre-departure orientation, where we give you a summary of what was covered in all the other ones. And once more, the Family Resources page is a great resource for you over the course of the semester, and even when your student is on site. So I will upload the recording of tonight's session at the bottom of the Family Resources page. It's also where you can access the Parent Handbook, which is a new resource that goes over a lot of information about the on-site experience. So I encourage you to take a look at our Family Resources page. This is also where you can RSVP for our parent webinar on health and safety. That's our July topic. So we look forward to seeing you there. And yeah, I mentioned this parent handbook, but it's got a lot of great information about what does the support system look like for your student once they're on site, because it does look different from the onboarding experience. How can you become a learning partner? What are important policies for your student as a college student? So definitely encourage you to check out that. And we also interviewed parent alumni, and you can learn from parents who have been in your shoes and are now cheering their student on at their college campuses. So definitely check that out. All right, so with that, I think we've come to the conclusion of our frequently asked questions and thus our presentation. For any of our panelists, are there any questions that you wanted to reiterate live here with the whole group before we conclude?
Sure. I'll take a moment to just remind people of upcoming deadlines. For most people, about 90% of our students have finished all of the required things that are due up until this point in time. But upcoming things, June 25th is that deadline for housing preferences and health history. So please make sure those two forms are filled out for students. Your students should be filling them out. Of course, health history, you may want to be there to support. Also very important and upcoming is the final transcript. As soon as your student has graduated from high school, it's recommended that they request that final transcript to be sent to Verto. It can be emailed to registrar at, it can be sent via service such as Parchment or any of those other services. But don't wait until the middle of summer, because oftentimes your school district or your advisors might go on summer vacation. They need a holiday too. And students have trouble getting in touch with their advisors, and we do need this in order for them to arrive on site. So please have them do it sooner rather than later, as soon as they graduate. And finally, the flight form for you all to upload your students' travel to Verto this fall will be going live within the next 10 days. So please be prepared to upload that so that Verto can plan the pickup of your students from the airport if they are arriving on arrival day, which is August 24th, and transporting your students to the Verto Study Center or Verto Housing, depending on the location. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Steph. Rob or Israel, Marin, anything that you wanted to reiterate with this group?
No,
I guess
other than just, oh, sorry, Marin, go ahead.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Mara, and I'm on the academics team, been helping out in the Q&A. I just wanted to highlight, I know there was a lot of questions about the course selection deadline, and I just want to reiterate a couple of things that Israel mentioned, that while the deadline was this past Friday, June 12th, if your student has not yet submitted course selection or they're newly enrolled, so they're just getting access to the course selection process, they will still have an opportunity to submit their selections once. And then additionally, if they have prior learning credit, be it AP scores that come out in early July, IB certificates, or post-secondary college credit, they can also upload that documentation in Virto Connect. And if it changes their course eligibility, they will have an opportunity to adjust their course selections. But if your student has not submitted them yet, please encourage them to submit them as soon as possible, because it drives the number of sections we offer of different classes and helps us build a timetable to ensure that students are getting in the courses that they want and need.
All right, thank you. Rob, did you have anything?
No, just a friendly reminder to connect with your student if they haven't been able to log into Virto Connect or haven't updated you on any of their checklist items or how they're doing. It'd be a great conversation to have with them just to see where they're at and if they need support from us or how we can get to connecting with you, your onboarding advisor. All right, just that.
All right. Well, thank you, team, and thank you to all of our participants who joined us for this parent welcome call. Once again, we're so excited that your student is a part of our community, and we look forward to continuing to partner together over the summer and in preparation of getting your student ready for their college experience. If you could, before you leave tonight, I just launched a poll. Let us know how this event went for you. What did you like? What more information would you like to see in future events? This allows us to continuously improve this process so that we are giving the most relevant and important information to parents as we work together as learning partners. So if you could, before you depart, fill out this quick survey. It only has a couple questions on it, and they're short. We'll stay on a few more minutes longer to answer some questions that are coming in the chat, and we highly encourage you to take a look at the answered section of the Q&A. We've answered 65 questions, so it's likely a question that you had or didn't even know you had. The answer already lives there. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Have a great rest of your week. Congrats for all of you who are having high school graduate parties this Sunday or this weekend. It's a really exciting time, and I hope that you enjoy this summer. Of course, we've got some work to do to prepare your student for their college experience, but this is all with the intent of having a really transformative and positive experience for your student academically, socially, internationally. There's lots to look forward to. So I really appreciate your attention to helping us get your student on track for their checklist items and getting ready for their experience. And we look forward to it. There's so many things to look forward to for this upcoming semester. I'm very excited. And I know our team is excited getting ready to receive your students on site in less than 8 weeks, I think. At this point, the clock is ticking at this point. So thanks everyone. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we look forward to your feedback in the poll. And as I mentioned, we will post the recording of this session by tomorrow evening on our Family Resources page, so you can refer to that there. All right, so with that, if you've completed our survey, we look forward to seeing you in July for our Parent Health and Safety webinar. Otherwise, we'll keep this room open for a couple more minutes for people to check out the question and answer before we conclude. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.